Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Beyond Day One, the podcast for those of you who are living beyond day one and looking to have professional success in your everyday life. We're glad you've joined us. And today we're answering an important question that's come to us, and it is how do you show your team that you care? We've been talking a lot about transformational leadership. And one of the hallmarks of a transformational leader is that they care about the people who work with them and work under them. But we've got to talk about how can we demonstrate and show that care to people. I've got with me today to have this conversation Philip and Ryan are joining me. And guys, there are several ways that I believe a transformational leader can show his team that he cares. Let's go through a few of them today and let's just see how this comes out. I'm going to start with you, Ryan. You actually helped us to have this conversation because you shared the story about the guy at work with you who basically defends the problem. Tell us a little bit about that and why it led you to have this conversation.
Yeah, so if you ever, with this particular coworker of mine, if you bring to him a problem or a need to help you do your job, for example, maybe you're having a problem with somebody that's also on the team, but he can help with the discipline, or you need a tool to help do your job better, and you bring it to him, every single time he always defends the problem, defends the person, defends the reason why we can't get the tool. And so it makes you feel like he's not hearing you, makes you feel like he doesn't care. And all the while, he might also, in the back of his mind, he's like thinking about how he's going to also address the problem that you're bringing to him. But you never know that, or you don't ever feel that way. And you always leave the conversation feeling unresolved and unheard and ultimately uncared for. And so when you feel when your coworkers and your team, when they the detriment of when somebody feels uncared for, then they stop feeling like they're going to care about the work that they're doing.
Mm. And that could lead to bad things
Yeah,
across the board because if your team doesn't feel like you care, they begin to ask the question, why should I care?
exactly.
hmm
And so then that starts leading to decisions and choices that leave your team less effective than it could actually be. Which, Ryan, in what you said one of the things that I think is worth us talking about that every transformational leader needs to do, and that is listen intently. If you're not listening to your people, I couldn't think of anything else that is more characteristic of communicating you don't care. What do you think, Ryan?
100%. So listening intently doesn't mean like, it just means that you're in the moment. You're not thinking about the next thing. You're not defending yourself or the processes or the company. You have to live in the moment with the person that's having a problem. Um, and so it means mirroring back what they say to you. It means really hearing with them. And sometimes it means even kind of complaining with them just a little bit, so that they know that you've heard them.
Hmm. Philip, what you're taught about listening intently.
I think it's important for leaders to remember that even if it's things they don't necessarily like to hear or want to hear, it's important for them to still hear them and to have an open mind enough to go, okay, I may not even agree with what I'm hearing, but I at least have to entertain the idea of what these people are telling me. I think it was Aristotle that said something like, it's the mark of an educated man to entertain an idea without accepting it. That should be the attitude of a leader that, okay, I may not like what I'm hearing. It may be hard on the ears, but it may be the tough medicine I need to make decisions that'll change things. And I remember hearing a phrase from somebody a while back who used to run a company. He said, only a fool ignores the word on the street. And I do believe that. I think there's something to it that when you've got people that it's almost like the elephant in the room, and a lot of the employees know it and everybody around knows that this situation is not ideal or this problem has been around for a long time unaddressed. The only a foolish leader would ignore that and still, you know, put out the idea that everything's doing just fine and hey, as long as nobody's rocking the boat, we're okay. There has to be a degree of humility there in the leader to be willing to listen, even if it's a little bit of maybe some tough medicine for them to hear.
I want to
You
add
know,
one thing to that, David, if I
yeah,
can.
go ahead, Dwayne.
Um, and to that humility point, Phil, is like if somebody's bringing a problem to you, it's so easy to get defensive. But if you come with a perspective that someone's bringing a problem to me it's not because they want to attack you, it's because they care too. So it's important to realize that the reason that they're bringing the problem is because they care, and they want the process to become better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Philip, I love what you said that only a fool ignores the word on the street. And I'm going to tell you one of the leading ways that you can find out that there's a problem is just listen,
Yeah.
because people talk.
Yep.
Whether it might not even be your direct employee, but other employees, other people who have heard things, and word gets around and people talk, and they talk about your leadership, and they talk about what it's like working with you. And so you want to have your ears to the street some and have an understanding of what people are saying. And then you have to decide how to govern based upon some of the things you may be hearing that may be important. Philip, was there a couple? What about you? What's a few things you think about when you think about uh, showing you care to your employees?
I definitely believe it has to come from a genuine place, and that's takes a lot of self-examination, honestly, for a leader to really get honest with himself and say, you know what, I know I'm a driven person. I know I'm a go-getter and that type of thing, and I want things to run efficiently in the organization. But let me just slow down for a second and think about what's my meter or my metric for how I treat my people. That's a little bit harder to quantify. It's not something you can, write down on a list somewhere, treat people well, but it's one of those intangible things that can honestly make or break the morale of an organization. Or how do people feel that they're being treated? It's something where, and I hope I'm not using too harsh of a phrase on this podcast, but people say, don't pee on my head and tell me it's raining. It's that it's that kind of thing. If a leader's doing that, people know it. It's let's treat people like adults, and be willing to go, okay, it may take some self-sacrifice, it may take me doing things I'm not comfortable with, but if I want to be a real transformational leader, I got to show that I care and show it in a way that's felt by the people that I say I care for.
Yeah, I love what you said there about being genuine. Authenticity is at another foundational piece of the transformational leadership.
Yeah.
And of the transformational leader. You can't fake it. You know,
Yeah.
at some points you have to, and you hope you can get away with it. But you can't consistently fake and put up, you know, a certain air, if you would, or presentation. Eventually, your team needs to see and know the true, authentic you and
Mhm.
understand where you're coming from. Because if they don't, there's always going to be this sense of everything's not quite as it seems. Ryan, what's your thought about authenticity and being generally, open to your team?
Yeah. So along those lines, I think being genuine means that, and caring doesn't always mean you're gonna fully agree. Because if you
Right.
just fully agree, then that's disingenuous too. And if you don't listen, then that's disingenuous. So finding that middle ground of like where you stand is so important, to just be yourself. Because if they feel like you're just being them to just please them and get along, that 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 they're going to feel like you don't care. And if you are ignoring them, they're going to feel like you don't care. So you got to really hear them. Doesn't mean you're always agreeing with them. It doesn't mean that you're always ignoring the problems. It's just, again, it's living in the moment. When that employee comes to you with a problem, comes to you with really anything, I guess, I would say.
Yeah, and I'll share one final one because I know Philip likes this one. Celebrate progress, not just outcomes.
Yes.
In other words, as your team is going through the process of completing a task, coming up to a big milestone or a big project. Make sure that you're celebrating that progress throughout and not just when the job is done. There's something powerful about that, that when people feel that you're with them in the progress and in the pits,
Hmm.
uh, th- it just makes the joy of the milestone so much greater. Philip, talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's okay as a leader to be results oriented, because at the end of the day, results are what counts when you're talking about efficiency and so forth. But at the same time, there are steps to results, and if you can celebrate those wins along the way, because a lot of times people do have that need, honestly, to know how they're doing before the task is accomplished, before everything is all zipped up and shipped out. They have to know, okay, am I even on the right track here? And it could be something as simple as, man, you hit these XYZ milestone yesterday, and I just want to say, man, great job. This is right on schedule, or maybe ahead of schedule, however. And I want you to know, man, this is awesome. You're on fire. You're doing great. Something that simple doesn't take a lot of time, but it can mean the world to that person and give them the further incentive to put the hammer down that much harder and get the job done.
Yeah. Ryan, what about you?
Say the question again.
What's your thought on the concept of now the thought just left my head when you said that because I was thinking about something else. But the concept of celebrating the progress, not just the finished work.
Oh yeah, no, 1,000%. I agree. Just to reiterate what Phil said was, yeah, you got to celebrate so that people know that they're on the right track, because so often in the workforce, people are doubting all the time. Like they always feel like being fired is always looming over them. And
Mm,
that concept is not foreign to any one sector of the workforce. I mean, it's everywhere. So when you celebrate it, it boosts confidence. And when people are more confident, the work is going to be better. And it's so easy as a leader, especially when you have a lot going on, to always be thinking about the next thing. Always to, and when you're a visionary, you're always thinking ahead. But again, I want to just encourage you as a leader to think ahead. Yes, have vision, but also living in the moment, living where those employees and where your team is working right now. Casting the vision to move forward, you got to, but also living right here. And sometimes there's a problem that has to be solved. Sometimes it's not even work related. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes they're carrying things from outside of work and it's affecting them internally. Like we're all still human. And so, again, celebrating in the moment, working in the moment, problem solving in the moment, as well as being visionary.
that's good, Ryan. We one of the things I hope that you've heard us talk about today is not only just being in the moment, being genuine, celebrating the moment, listening, and connecting with your people, but just remember what we're not talking about is living some honky dory, life as a leader. I'm a transformational leader, and you're skipping around, and just everything's perfect. It's not perfect. The problem is that the workplace is imperfect, but it's a transformational leadership or the transformational leader who is equipped to handle the ups and downs of the workplace and is constantly thinking about not only improvement, but driving to the goals that they have in front of them. So don't think of this as, I heard somebody describe it as, this heroic leadership style. It's heroic when you get an end result that's fantastic. But it takes a lot of work and effort to be a transformational leader. And don't let some of the conversation around it fool you into thinking it's easy because
Mhm.
it's not easy. It takes effort and it takes caring for your people to make a difference in their lives. We're
Yeah.
so glad that you've joined us for this episode. Don't forget our course, Beyond Day One. It's available now. You can click on the link down below. And also, we're going to create for this podcast 10 things or 10 ways that you can show your employees you care. It's going to be a free download. You can just click the link down at the bottom and you can grab that download. Until next time, I'm David. He's Ryan. That's Philip. And we are out.